What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Fumble Live. Thank you for tuning in. Now, we have to talk about Giannis and how he went down with that knee injury. We're also talking about an interesting update from the Nets and what the next season could look like for them. And here's a hint, it may not include this big three that everybody was so excited about going into this current season. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Here's the Fumble Squad. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jackie Ray. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter @JRayTheFanatic. And don't forget today at 1 p.m., challenge accepted. I got to say, though, my brother will never be back on the show again. I'm at the point where I'm trying to bring people back on the show, but he posted the little fuzzy braids to his Instagram story, and he said, yes, the next time you have me back on the show, the bet is going to be if you lose, you have to wear your hair like Patrick Beverley.
Oh, no.
That's you're not coming back on the show. You should have said that.
Yeah, he's never invited back because...
He's never coming back on the show.
That would be way too much. I know the fuzzy braids are really hard for you, Jackie, so imagining you doing a Patrick Beverley hairstyle, that's just... I know you're not going to like that.
I wouldn't do it.
So funny. So what can viewers expect from this episode of Challenge Accepted that's coming out today?
It was a lot of fun. My boy Taylor Reed was on there. I've known Taylor for years. We bonded over pit bulls. So, you know, that's my guy. But we do get a little bit heavy. We talk a little bit more in depth. I know we talked about it on the show earlier this week, but we do talk a little bit more about Gwen Berry and the fans' reaction to how she behaved on the podium during the national anthem. So we're going to get into that. And then we made a bet on the NFL. So it's worth it. It's definitely worth tuning in.
Okay, you guys, so that's at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Don't forget to tune in. Challenge Accepted is always so fun to watch, and you get to see Jackie lose these different bets and have to wear fuzzy braids on the show. Look, I'm rooting for you to win one. I want to see you be the one that wins the challenge. All right, you guys. Well, let's get into this first news story about Giannis because it could be pretty devastating. He went down with a bad knee injury. It happened with just over 7 minutes remaining in the third quarter. He jumped to contest an alley-oop from John Collins to Clint Capella, and then he landed awkwardly on his left leg. His knees kind of buckled. Leo, can you play that first clip for us? Yeah, so you can see it happening.
Yep, the left knee.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Yikes, I know. Oh, it looks bad. It does not look good, and that's definitely not the type of injury that you want to see happen this late in the game to somebody like Giannis. He immediately fell to the floor, as you guys can see, and he stayed on the ground for several minutes looking like he was in a lot of pain. The Bucks coaches and players and the Hawks coaches and players all surrounding him, everybody checking in on him. And then he was helped up to his feet by his teammate and brother Thanasis, and then he walked off the court with his help. Now, later on, he was seen walking without assistance. So, Leo, if you want to just play that clip right now, the second one of him walking. So he is able to walk here. He's not having to lean on anybody, which is a good sign, but we've seen players with structural damage in their knees and in their ankles walking off without any help before in the past, so it's not necessarily indicative of him actually being okay and only suffering a minor injury. But he is getting imaging done today, so that will probably give us a good look as to what's going on and what the future will look like for him. Without their star player, the final score ended up being 110-88 as the Atlanta Hawks tied up the series. And the Hawks were also without Trae Young. He suffered that deep bone bruise, so he was not on the floor with them, but the Hawks still never trailed in the game. So it was a big win for them as well. Do you feel like this Giannis injury has been, just it's almost like just another notch on this season's injuries. There have been so many major players who have gone down with pretty terrible injuries. And is this just kind of solidifying the fact that if there's any season that requires an asterisk, it's this one?
Yeah, this one has just been injuries always happen for sure, and I don't want to make it seem like, oh, they don't, but for the amount of injuries that we've seen this season and the amount of stars that have gone out, it's a lot. It really is a lot, and that's kind of affected what we've seen going into the playoffs even. So it's one of those things where it's just, you just don't want to see this. You don't want to see this anytime in the season, but especially during the playoffs, because it's just not, Giannis has worked really hard to get to this point. He's taken a lot of scrutiny to get to this point, and now he's here, and then there's this injury. It's just devastating. It's heartbreaking, and it just kind of makes you, whether you really believe it or not, it does make you circle back to, with the amount of injuries that we've seen in this season, could we have done something better? Should we have started later? Should we have given them more of a break? Should we have done what we said we were going to do in the All-Star week and not actually have that and actually give guys a break? Because, there's always going to be an asterisk. Now, no matter what, if the Hawks go, it's going to be an asterisk. Well, you went because, you didn't have Giannis, even though they were losing, even it's still an asterisk. Nobody was at 100%, and without anybody being it's easier to put an asterisk on this than it was in the bubble, because, at least guys were hyper dialed in at that point. So this is just, when I saw this, I actually didn't get to see it live because I was on another platform recording something. But as soon as I got off, I turned on the game, and after I was shocked by how much the Hawks were leading, then, and at this point I had seen the little notification that Giannis was hurt. Like, I didn't get the full thing. And then when they played it back, it was just like your heart stopped. And I, like you said, I know he walked out under his own power. That means nothing to me, because we all remember when Kobe went out there and shot his free throws with a torn, ACL. So it doesn't mean anything, but it does mean that if he can't come back, which, based on what I saw in that video, especially the slow motion where his body was going one way and his leg was going another, he's definitely probably, I don't want to say definitely probably, but he's probably out. I don't see him coming back from that, same way I didn't see Kawhi coming back from that. And now it just takes the air out of the playoffs, because this was his moment, and now it's taken from him, and it's completely out of his control. So whether you like Giannis or not, whether you like the Bucks or not, as a true basketball fan, seeing that moment, that was sad. It was hard to watch.
Yeah, it was really, really hard to watch. And for the reasons that you listed, we've been waiting for Giannis to have this moment. And to see him now miss it, potentially miss it because of an injury, it's honestly so upsetting. If the Bucks do still, want to stand a chance at winning, what do you think they need to do to stay in it? Is there any chance for them to still come out the successful team?
Yeah, there's always a chance. You can never really count guys out. It's just how they step up in that moment. And it's not like they have a terrible squad. I see Kevin Lane in the chat, and that's exactly what I was going to say. They started the third quarter on an 8-0 run when Giannis got hurt, and then everything kind of just dissipated. But that moment in time, if you just take that moment in time, you can say they have what it takes to come together. But, it's one of those statements that I actually hate, because I actually hate when people say this, but they're going to have to win by committee. It's not going to be one player that takes, all the weight of Giannis. That's not going to happen. They're going to have to win by committee. So they're going to have to get together, all of them, and figure something out, but he's different than Kawhi. Whereas in Kawhi goes out, you haven't lost a vocal leader. You haven't lost that guy that's going to rally the troops and hype you up. You haven't lost that. You've just lost the amazing basketball prowess that comes with Giannis. But Giannis is still going to be very much present. He's still going to be there rallying his guys. He's still going to be vocally present, and he might be able to get them over that hump that way. And you just kind of have to hope for that. But it's going to come down to, like I said, everybody doing what they're supposed to do, and some good coaching. They're going to have to, because that's one of the problems that I've had with, the Bucks before, is their coaching. Like, what kind of switches are you going to do? Do I think Chris Middleton can do it? No. But that's what I'm saying. Brook Lopez has had moments where he's stepped up and he's looked really good. So it's just going to be, one of the, and I don't want to sleep on Drew Holiday either, but I mean, Chris Middleton's going to have to step up in a big way, and they're going to have to do it by committee. It's definitely possible. It's going to take some great coaching. It's going to take everyone being dialed in, and it's going to take everyone wanting this moment just as badly as the next guy. So it's possible, especially when you're talking about the Hawks. It's not like the Hawks are stacked like that, you know? So they actually have a chance if they want to go in there and stay focused. They could potentially do it. You know, they can definitely run this route if they put their hearts to it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, especially because the Hawks are down their star player in Trae Young, so that does make it a little less challenging, I would say. Both teams are without a superstar to help them out, but it is just it's a bizarre culmination of how the entire season has looked. I feel like, you know, you see somebody like Giannis, who we've been really just excited to finally see him have this wave of success, and he goes down with an injury. And this is just another injury on top of many that we've seen. So this is the exact way the season has been going, and it's pretty sad, actually. Let's move on to our next Need to Know News update, because it kind of follows a similar storyline. Injuries may be a reason why the Nets are no longer sticking with that big three. So everybody thought that the Nets were going to come into this season as this super team, the team to beat, and for a while they were. Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. I mean, it really doesn't get much stronger or better than that, but it appears things might be set to change for next season. Matt Sullivan recently revealed the possibility of Nets GM Sean Marks being open to considering trade offers for Kyrie Irving, who didn't play in the final 3 games of Brooklyn's season-ending 7-game series against the Bucks due to his ankle injury. We all remember that. So Matt said, quote, "I've heard that Nets ownership was quite upset with Kyrie's pause," in quotes, especially that maskless party that turned into his pseudo-paternity leave into more like a COVID suspension. And in the last week, I've heard rumblings, whispers really, that Brooklyn GM Sean Marks would maybe, possibly, apparently be willing to at least listen to a trade offer for Kyrie this offseason. He added, quote, "Now, I'm not sure what the market for Kyrie is at this point. It's not like Ben Simmons giving you the headache on the court. It's that complex personality that comes from off the court. I think it's been annoying some people in the franchise. I can't speak to his teammates who obviously want to play with one of the world's best and get him back there." Now, I think this conversation is happening way too soon. We didn't really get to see the way Kyrie, James, and KD can work together. And I think that given the opportunity to actually all be healthy at the same time, they really would be a solid team. And I also think we've heard of Kyrie's personality issues off the court. He has kind of been difficult when he's been on other teams, but I think it seems like he's adopted this sort of new personality and this new perspective. And to me, it seems like he's actually been easier to work with, at least from what we've heard. But Jackie, what is your reaction to this news? Do you think it's too soon for Sean Marks to even be considering this kind of change?
I think I agree with Mike Glock in the chat. Fire that man if he trades Kyrie. Just a period. Into that would be the dumbest thing. First and foremost, Kyrie has always been Kyrie. I love the personal growth that we've seen in Kyrie, especially when we're talking about who he is as a person and how he's trying to better himself mentally, study his history, his culture, observe that and show us how he's doing that. I love that about him. But if you're talking about his personality and the oddness of his personality, he's been that from day one. So if you use that as a reason to trade him, you're an idiot, because he's never not been who he is. We said that off top, that we were going to be very surprised if the personalities of these 3 men actually worked well together. Now, like you said, we haven't seen them play together enough to know for sure, but I think we've seen them play enough together that we know this could definitely work. And I'm gonna go back to what I said last week. You can't abandon ship right now. Too many things that were beyond your control happened in this season, with injuries, with timing, things of that nature. You can't abandon this ship now, because if you do, you look like an idiot. You look like you don't even trust the decisions you make to make this happen. So why would you abandon this ship now? Why would you get all these pieces, all these amazing pieces that other teams would probably trade half their squad to get one of them for, and then just say, oh, well, you know what? His little personalities are hard to deal with. So bye. Nobody, no.
You knew that going into it with Kyrie. It's not like that's a new development with him. He's a character and he, is a great player, but he has these quirks and that you knew that. Like he knew that when he brought Kyrie on board. I'm just actually really shocked to hear that these conversations are even happening because like you said, there are people who would be willing to give up everything just to get one of these guys. I mean, not people, teams that'd be willing to give up everything just to get one of these guys. And here he is, Sean Marks, with 3 superstar players who actually have shown that they can work well together for the limited times that we've been able to see them all on the court at the same time. They look great, and he's trying to possibly trade one of the main pieces. That's actually, to me, it would be a huge mistake. That being said, if you did decide to get rid of Kyrie Irving, I think that James Harden and Kevin Durant can still be, I think that they can still be a super strong, solid team, and those two together alone would make the Nets a threat. But I think getting rid of Kyrie is just...
There's a lot of problems with this situation. There's a lot of problems with this narrative even coming out right now and hearing this from Marks, period. Because, number one, you're saying his personality is an issue. You know damn well you're not going to trade Kyrie. Let's be clear about that. That man is not going to trade Kyrie. It's not going to happen. But now you're saying you got an issue with his personality, and you're saying something that you know he's the type of personality that's not going to deal well with that. You, sir, are an idiot. Like that's just how it is. You're an idiot. On top of that, when we're talking about KD, and KD really kind of helped put this team together, and you trade one of the pieces that he wanted. What's your plan here, my guy? Like you talking about these egos and these personalities, and you're doing things to trigger these egos and these personalities. This you think it through. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. I think this definitely needs to be thought through. I don't think this should even be on the table. I think that these guys deserve at least another season to see how they're able to gel and what they're able to do. I think it would just be a big mistake to get rid of Kyrie right now after one season. It's way too premature. But Jackie, if Kyrie does go, whether it's of his own volition or because he's traded, do you agree that KD and James Harden would still be able to do amazing things with the Nets?
I think they would, but I'm going to stand by what I say because now you've got, it would be an uphill battle. They would have to build their momentum up because there would be a little bit of, why the hell did you do this? And you knew this is what we wanted. And there would be that pushback. So I think that they would have to, build up to that. But eventually, yeah, they would be fine together because that's what they have to be. And I think that they're both professionals, despite sometimes, they both kind of, well, not so much KD. KD kind of just does what he does. But we've seen James Harden kind of throw temper tantrums and things of that nature. But it would be a passing thing. And then they would go out there and they'd be professionals because they both have the desire to win. And they would do that. But again, I'm gonna give Mike Glock the credit again. If this happens, he needs to be fired because there's no way it wouldn't make sense. How would it make sense to have Kyrie Irving, KD, and James Harden on the team, and because you don't like his personality, stop. That doesn't make sense.
If they're willing to trade away any piece of this big three, do you think it makes more sense for the person on the chopping block to be James Harden?
Yeah, because last one in, first one out. That's how it goes, so that's how I would do it. James Harden, though, because of what you know about James Harden, I think that would be a harder trade because we do know that he is going to act out. If he ends up someplace where he doesn't want to be, he is going to act out. Everyone in the league knows that. And then it becomes, you have to decide, are you going to try to nurture and coddle him through this? Are you going to give him everything he wants so he's happy? It's going to be one of those things. I do not, in my heart of heart, think either of these 3 men are going away. I do think it's a problem that this is even being said because these are 3 guys that do have egos. And now they very much wanted to play together. And now you're putting out there that you want to break up the big 3 that they wanted to happen. I don't think you do that. I don't think you do that. I think you're setting yourself up for failure. And I think now because now the narrative is different. Now, if you keep Kyrie and let's say Kyrie is perfectly healthy, we way past the pandemic. None of that's a thing anymore. You can go and come as you please. And then all of a sudden, Kyrie wants to take the first 3 games out. He's not saying why. He's just saying family reasons. Now here's the narrative, like, oh, is he really staying out because of family reasons, or is he staying out because he feels some type of way that his name was mentioned in trade talk? You're putting yourself in a situation that you just shouldn't put yourself in. You should come back publicly and recant. And even if it's true, lie. I didn't say that. I don't know why you guys would think you just lie. Say you didn't say that, sir, and fix this relationship.
Right, because, you know, we, especially with players like Kevin Durant, actually with all three of these guys, if there's going to be trade rumors about them, these three are probably going to take it the hardest out of everybody in the league. I feel like they just happen to internalize these sorts of rumors a lot more than some other guys. So it never feels good to hear your name thrown around in trade rumors, but damn, to have it be any one of these guys, you know, you're kind of in for a rocky road with them. So not a good idea all around. I would like to see these three still, you know, working together in Brooklyn. I think that they'd be able to do something really great next season, especially if they're all able to stay healthy, which they really hopefully should. And I just think it's just way too premature. Before we dive into the post-up, Jackie, I want to ask you if you have any predictions for Game 6 tonight for the Clippers and Suns. Anything that you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to walk away with the win?
Oh, you know, I don't. What's the series at right now? I have been barely paying attention to that. It's like what, 3-1 right now? No,
I
3-2.
need to check, but I think so.
Because I remember Chris Paul saying he didn't want to talk about 3-1 because, you know, that hasn't gone well for him in the past. That's still hilarious to me that he said that. I do think it's going to go to 7 games, so I don't think the Suns are going to win tonight. I think there's going to be a Game 7, and so yeah, I guess that means I'm saying the Clippers are going to have to tie it up tonight. So yeah. Can't believe I'm saying that. Yeah, I think I said it was going to go to Game 7, and the reason why I'm saying that though is because this is Paul George. Yeah, this is Paul George's moment. You know, this is his time to get out there and be playoff P. You know, PG-13, everything that we call him. It's his time, and I'm really proud of him for at the same time owning some of the things he's gone through mentally and being honest about the fact that some of the scrutiny that he gets, he doesn't like that. And it makes him feel some type of way, but at the same time still playing well because he wasn't doing that before. Before it was he would get scrutiny and then he would go out there and play like he deserved every piece of that scrutiny. He's found this happy balance that I'm loving to see, even though I still want the Clippers to lose. So it is a love-hate situation because I like Paul George, you know, so I love to see this moment for him where he's actually not in his head and he's going out there and he's playing fantastic basketball, some of the best basketball of his career, and I love to see him do that, and I want to continue to see him do that. I think this is his moment and I want him to capitalize on it. At the end of the day, I don't want the Clippers, but if the Clippers got there strictly because of Paul George, then this is his moment and I would be happy for him that he had this moment in time where he is the reason to carry the Clippers to the promised land. Don't want them in the promised land. But if, you know what I'm saying, it's this whole love-hate thing that I'm dealing with right now. It's a lot.
I think I just heard you say you would be happy to see Paul George carry the Clippers to the promised land. So,
I would want them to still fail. I would want them to still, it's weird. Like, I don't want you in the promised land, but if Paul George gets you there, I'm happy that you're there. But when you're there, I want you to fail. But not if that means that Paul George has to play bad. It's a lot going on in my head right now.
Yeah, Jackie, yeah, there is a lot going on in your head right now. There's a lot of conflicting emotions happening right now. I kind of get it though, because I did feel bad for Paul George, especially last playoff in the bubble. I felt really bad for him, and I'm glad to see him redeeming himself. But at the same time, if there's any team that I want to see lose, it is the Clippers. So this is just it's a weird time in LA right now. It really, really is. But yeah, interesting take. Let's see what Kevin L. Lang said, Clippers in 7. So it's going to be a close series. It's really anyone's game, I feel like.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge Mike Locke's coming with the gems today. He says, don't forget about Ty Lue. This man coaching is the reason the Clippers are still in the playoffs. And I have to give him a public apology because you remember when he got that job, I was like, ain't no way in hell Ty Lue going to pull this off. Mike Locke is 100% right. Ty Lue is out here coaching. He's not just a manager or a cheerleader. He is literally out there coaching these guys. And I think he might be a lot of the reason why we're seeing a different Paul George this season. So you're absolutely right. got to give that man some credit, because I did not at the beginning. I was like, nah, he can't do this. My bad, I was wrong. I don't say that often, but I was wrong.
Hey, you know what? We always appreciate when someone can admit when they're wrong. I think a lot of people had their doubts about Ty Lue and his ability to coach the Clippers. I think that there seemed like there were a lot of other candidates out there who would have done a better job. But we got to give him his credit. We're all about giving people their flowers. And in this moment, Ty Lue definitely does deserve a little round of applause. And so does Paul George. So we're excited to see him doing so well. But on that note, let's wrap up Need to Know News. Jackie, what is happening in the post-up?
Yes, it's that time for post-up. I am so excited about this post-up because this is one of those things where it's a person that I really like getting the first of an award that I hope a lot of people, I know LeBron is going to get it at some point. I just don't know when, but CARMELO, I say this over and over again, he's one of my favorite people, his personal life aside, y'all know. But I love that he is the first one to get the inaugural Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Champion Award. He got this for his dedication over the past year for pursuing social justice and advancing Abdul-Jabbar's life mission to engage, empower, and drive equality for individuals and groups who have been historically marginalized or systemically disadvantaged. That is what the NBA posted on their site about this. And then, of course, Carmelo Anthony posted this as well. He said, humble, honored, and motivated to live up to the namesake of this inaugural award. I can promise that I'll continue to carry the torch and shine a light in the places that need it most. I actually 100% love this. Carmelo had another quote that he said on a podcast. He says, I'm lucky to be part of a league full of players who are equally as passionate about making a difference. So I'm truly humbled to be recognized by Kareem and the selection committee. It's my hope that this award encourages others to help uplift those who have been historically marginalized. So this is amazing that he's got this and he's owning this and he's continually pushing this narrative, because, you know, I still remember when it was him, LeBron James, and Dwayne Wade that got on the stage at the ESPYs and used their voice for the very first time in a very big public way. And he's been riding with that ever since. I absolutely love that. Of course, Twitter had some things to say, and I love this. It says, thank you, Melo, for bringing the heart back to Portland. You deserve everything because you gave us your all. I'm forever a fan. Tried to get an autograph and jersey. I really believe you're last of the best. Drex Palomalo, stay healthy and stay safe, my brother. I love that. So let's go to this next one. What a special honor. Congratulations to you for your work in serving others and standing up for those whose voice often is not heard. God bless. And then you are so deserving of this award. I love having you play for Rip City. I love the love that he is getting for this. And I love that so many people are realizing that this is something that people who are in this limelight and who have this voice, we really need them to do the things that they are doing, because it's so often that the little guy, the average Joe, is just overlooked. So when people say, oh, just play basketball, no, absolutely not, because you're not going to listen to Joe Schmo down on the street. You need these guys to use their voice and their platform. And I'm so proud of Carmelo Anthony. Like everyone in Rip City is saying right now, you deserve this. Very, very proud of you. And congratulations. Little round of applause for Carmelo Anthony there. So now, let's move on to somebody that I don't really like, but have to low key kind of admit he's kind of right with one little caveat. But Charles Barkley, your boy Chuck, is out here dragging Paul George, because Paul George was open with saying, yeah, you know, sometimes the things that the media says about me bothers me. I think that's okay for him to say. Charles Barkley, not so much. Take a listen.
Every great player gets criticized.
Yes.
I don't hear that bull
crap.
Every great player. I have gotten criticized because I didn't win a championship. Michael Jordan, before he won the championship, yeah, he can't win. Shaq, Kobe, everybody's gotten criticized. This false narrative, I'm hearing these jackasses on television talking about somebody gets scrutinized more than other people. Give me a freaking break. Every great player who's played until they win a championship get criticized. But I got drafted with Michael Jordan. My first, I think he won the championship in his 8th year.
First 6 years in the league.
But I'm saying, I think he won the championship 6 or 8.
I think it was 7.
Okay.
Right.
Like, I remember when he was going up, when he put that 63 on the Celtics, yeah, he's a great individual player, but he hasn't won the championship. They've always said that about me. CARMELO, John Stockton, Patrick Ewing. I can go down the line and the line. But this notion that Paul George is a terrific player, but that goes with being a terrific player. And these other guys talk about he gets treated unfairly. Give me a freaking break. And to
So again, I kind of agree with Chuck on this one. It is one of those things where, you know, a lot of you guys often say the league is soft and guys are, you know, not being able to take things that they would in the past, including hits to the face, because, you know, they was punching each other back in Chuck's days. So I agree with him on that. And I agree that, you know, like, get over it. You're not the most scrutinized. Some people disagree. Twitter obviously had something to say about this as well. But this first person says, Paul George has gotten scrutinized way more than he deserves. I don't agree with that part. He says, I'm sorry, but I disagree with Chuck. George, way worse criticism than he deserves. And then this other person says, well, what about James Harden? And then the last person says, what I agree with, it's not even remotely close. LeBron James gets way more criticism than everybody else. 100%, I believe that. Even with believing that, though, I'm not going to take away the fact that each person is different. LeBron James, Skip Bayless has spent his entire career criticizing LeBron James. LeBron James has never once addressed it. It's never once fazed him. You know, James Harden, he'll go in and he'll give you one flip comment, say what he said, and he goes on about his life. James Harden is a little different than that because he's also the guy that'll pout if he doesn't get his way. But Paul George does not have to be like anybody else. If it bothers him, it bothers him. If he feels like he's getting scrutinized more than other people and he wants to say that, if that's how he mentally gets over that, then let that man say that. But it's not wrong for him to feel how he feels. He doesn't have to handle it the way that Chuck handled it, the way that Shaq handled it, the way that anybody else in the league is handling it. He is Paul George. If this is how he feels, this is how he feels. He's not wrong for that. That's just my opinion. Devin, what do you think? Do you think that Chuck is right, that we're spinning this false narrative that Paul George gets too much criticism, or is it okay for Paul George to feel that way?
I think that I obviously think it's okay for Paul George to feel that way. I mean, if you put both of us, Jackie, as we are into this kind of situation where these public people, these NBA players or whatever, and we have people criticizing us left and right, you're going to be able to take that criticism a lot better than I'm going to. And I'm going to be the Paul George in the situation saying, I get the most hate, like, because I'm just too sensitive. And I can't handle it. So we all handle things differently. And not to make this about LeBron, but I think that LeBron is by far the most hated player, the most criticized player in the NBA. Whenever we talk about those maps about who the most hated player is, it's LeBron in almost every single state. He always wins by a landslide. So yes, I will agree that Paul George is not the most criticized player in the league, but I think that it's okay for him to recognize what people say and acknowledge it. I think that that's totally fine. So I think that Charles Barkley is just being a little too harsh on it. Like you can't expect everybody to handle this kind of attention and negativity in the same way.
I think Charles is doing something that I am very conscious that I do a lot. He's judging somebody based off of how he would react to it. And I do that all the time. But you have to be conscious of that, you know, because like you said, there's some times when you've said some things to me that bothered you. And I'm like, girl, what? Why? But you're entirely different. I'm built different. You're built like you're a lot more, you're nicer than me. You're more loving than me. So that comes with that. I'm like, miss me with that. You know what I mean? I don't care. I'm gonna do me. I'm fine. I'm just a little bit different than that. And that's something that I think a lesson that Charles can learn. You can't judge people based on how you would react to that situation because you're not them. You know, so It's one of those things. I had a huge argument with a girlfriend of mine the other day, and she was like, well, Jackie, that's what you would do. That's not who I am. And I did say, well, that's how you should have been in this moment. You should have challenged your inner Jackie and gotten out of this moment. But, you know, so that was probably the wrong thing to say. But in Paul George's defense, he's not saying anything that's really wrong. He's just saying, yeah, you know, and they asked him the question, can we stop scrutinizing basketball players for how they answer questions that they're asked? You know what I'm saying? Like, you asked me how I felt, this is how I felt. If you don't want to know how I feel, then don't ask me. That's just how it is. So, yeah. All right, so that's enough of me defending Paul George here. Let's move on to Stephen A., who's out here taking credit for something that he is not the first to say. He is saying that he is the first one to say that it might be time for the Clippers to reconsider these things, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I have said that several times, but take a listen to Stephen A's rant about Kawhi.
I don't know if it's in the Clippers' best interest to keep him. Oh, nobody has said that, so I'll be the first to say it. Let me be clear about something. Kawhi Leonard is a top 5 talent in this game. He is elite. But when you take into account the load management, when you take into account that his personality doesn't actually, gravitate towards leadership, he's more of a watch me do it or do it kind of guy, as opposed to really galvanizing the troops and being a talker. And then you combine that with the fact that he's not necessarily reliable, at least this postseason, hasn't gotten any younger or what have you. And you look at the elevation of Terrence Mann, this second-year player who clearly is not on Kawhi's level. But if you look at the athleticism, if you look at the youth, the fervor, the want-it mentality, playing night in and night out, and you're talking about building a culture, then I'm sorry. I don't know. I think that it's something that Ballmer and the crew have to think about long-term.
I'm pretty sure, with the exception of the Terrence Mann comment, damn near word for word, I have said exactly that. You're not the first, Stephen A. Feel like you just been watching the Fumble and you took my words. But I definitely agree with you. I definitely do not think that this is a good look for the Clippers. I've said that from day one. And look, I love what this guy on Twitter said. He says he's already, first of all, let me just say this. There was nobody, because I would have put it up in there. People don't like Stephen A. That's what you got a lot of. You got to I don't like Stephen A, but he's right on this one. I don't like Stephen A. Because I think Stephen A is right. This guy was the only one that came up with something unique. He says, this is a perfect trade for all teams, changes things up, and doesn't make anyone worse. I just want to get you in the chat, Devin. I want to get your thoughts on this trade, because these are some moves that I never thought of, but I love him being a little ingenious about that. I think I put the little thing in there. Okay. So to the 76ers, we got Kawhi, Lonzo Ball, Serge Ibaka, and Luke Kennard. To the Clippers, we got Joel Embiid and Eric Bledsoe. And then to New Orleans, Ben Simmons. I love that that's all the Pelicans are going to get is Ben Simmons. But the 76ers would be an entirely different team if that happened. That is not a bad look to me. The only problem is if you're taking Joel out of the 76ers, then you don't have a leader on that team. I think that's what people actually miss about Kawhi. He can't be and I said this yesterday, he's not the guy that you bring in for anything other than his talent. He's not going to captain the ship. He's not going to be the leader. And if a trade happens, which I think it should, you have to make sure that you have a leader in place, because Kawhi's not that guy. Devin, what do you think? What did you think about those trade thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's the right move at all. I think that if you're going to take Kawhi and put him in Philly, you need to keep Joel there. That was the first thing that I noticed about that, because then you just give the Sixers the same problem that the Clippers have had. There's
right.
Nobody there that's really leading the team. So you need to keep somebody like Joel there. The other stuff, Ben Simmons going to, where was he going? The Pelicans?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, fine, that makes sense. But yeah, Kawhi just definitely needs to have that. I think Kawhi needs to be the number 2 guy, and just like we're seeing Paul George really flourish in his role as the number 1 guy when he wasn't able to before because he was number 2, we need Kawhi to be in a number 2 position, and I think he'd actually be really happy there. I wanted to call out JD in the chat because he says that Kawhi needs to stay in LA. He created the team he wanted. He made his bed there, lay in it. And while I do see I do see where JD is coming from. It's like Kawhi made all these moves to happen. He left the Raptors. He went to the Clippers. He got Paul George, and then it still didn't work. If he was doing the right thing or the honest thing, maybe he would stay. He would stick it out and be like, this is the mess I created. But if we want to see the Clippers have success, if we want to see Kawhi have success, it's just like if they keep Kawhi there, they're going to just keep running into the same wall over and over and over again. It's not going to change. So in order to make something happen, Kawhi needs to go. And I'm supportive of that. He's not doing anything for the Clippers. He's not giving them what they need. I mean, he is doing something for the Clippers, but he's not giving them exactly what they need here. So I think Stephen A. Smith is totally right here. When I listened to this morning, I was like, yeah, this is exactly what we've been saying on the show this whole time. And Kevin in the chat said that he's committing copyright infringement right now, taking stuff from the Fumble. He is.
He is.
We should
Thank you. Talking about I was the first to say it. No, you wasn't. You got up and watched the Fumble and be like, how can I modify that? Let me throw this guy in here. I'm gonna steal the straight word, damn near word for word. You lying? You ain't first, not the first, sir. I don't appreciate you at all. Oh my goodness, thank you, Kevin. Oh, and then I saw somebody else saying something in the chat, but I missed it. Cool. Anyway, so I missed it. I have to, if it comes to me, I'll get back to you. But let's get to this one because here we are again. This is kind of the narrative of this show: things that you should or should not say out loud. And this, to me, when I read it, it made 100% sense because I've thought this about Boogie a couple of times. You know, Boogie, unfortunately, since January of 2018 has been just injury after injury. He had a torn Achilles in 2018, January of 2018, September he had an Achilles, March he had a foot injury, he came back from that, and then he had a quad injury, and then August he had a knee injury, and then, I mean, it's just been injury. He is since 2018, he spent a lot of his time getting paid to rehab. Let's just be honest about this. So him saying this, spot on to me. He says, this stuff is hard, bro. It's hard knowing what you can do. It's hard believing in yourself when nobody else believes in you. And that's what he was saying. That was his response to how he questioning still playing in the NBA. Now, let me just decipher, because I feel like maybe the reason why he was getting some backlash for this on Twitter was because people didn't understand what he was saying. It's hard knowing what you can do when your body's not following. It's hard, you know, he probably should have finished that sentence. It's hard to know how talented you are, how dope you are when you go out on the court and then boom, injury. You can't even be out there for long and then boom, you know, here's something else. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Coming back from any injury is a mental thing. Coming back after injury, after injury, after injury, and then you're worried, if I go out here and play my hardest, am I gonna be plagued with another injury? That is a real mental thing. This is a very honest statement from him. So I understood this. But because we live in this whole society that cannot separate, oh, you make a lot of money from, oh, you might be human and have feelings too, I knew he was going to get dragged for it. And of course he did. So Twitter said some just ridiculous stuff. Bro is making all this money and doesn't want to play in the league. Who cares how good you are or if you get any playing time? I know I'd want the money. You guys do know that these guys love to play basketball, right? They don't like to sit on the sidelines and rehab. That's number one. And I got another one. And then this one, these two people, I'm so glad because they stepped in and they were like these lone gunmen in this long narrative of why Boogie shouldn't have said this. And then this person says, yes, because money just makes all insecurities and self-doubt just evaporate instantly. And then this other one says, it ain't all about the damn money. Like, players got feelings too. Thank you, too, for being this light in this sea of negativity, because it is difficult to go out there to know what you can do, but just wonder, is this going to be the injury that takes me out of the game forever? It's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm proud of Boogie for saying it. And I'm proud of you two people on Twitter who stood up for Boogie. That was an important moment. And I love that. But let's get on to this next one, you guys, because this next one, I love to see. I definitely love to see this. Every time I see something that Deion Sanders is doing, I love it because he's definitely pushing this narrative with this HBCU, and it's a dope thing. Now, if you guys don't know, Terrell Owens, aka T.O., this man is 47 years old. I'm not his biggest fan because he and I had an altercation back in the day, but I still love him. I still follow him online and I follow his workout. But y'all look at this. Deion got him to come out to humble these kids. And it's just so dope to see, you know, that man has not lost a step. Not one step has he lost. He's still out here taking the hands. That was definitely holding. That would have been pass interference, but that's okay. You did it. And he got confidence now, feeling like he shut down T.O. It's dope. This kid's nervous though. Bless his heart. I love him though. But he's staying with him though. He stayed with him until he couldn't stay with him. And then, you know, T.O. got it. But I love this because this just is something that you don't get this unless you're Deion Sanders, you know? You don't get guys that come out and just want to help unless you're Deion Sanders. So I thought this was a beautiful thing. I also like how Twitter responded to it as well, because this is my thought exactly. These kids have this moment in time that they're never going to forget, and they're going to feel better for it. And he says, my man felt T.O.'s Hall of Fame aura and was shook from the jump. He's like, oh God, what do I do? So awesome for these legends to show love to the next generation and keep them working on possibly becoming one themselves. I love that. Just this moment of time, you being there with these kids is giving back in a way and helping them understand what they're trying to get into. I love that. This next user had a similar sentiment. He says, dang, can you imagine how cool it is to say you've got to be on the same field as Hall of Famer? At 47, no less, still smoking these guys. Each of these guys got 1% better by being exposed to routes like that. Unreal blessing for them. Absolutely. I love this. I love that T.O. came out to do this. I love that Dion has those kind of connections because this is something that's going to change. Like that person said, they've all leveled up a little bit. And damn, T.O., I got to go back to following your workouts, but his workouts is crazy. Follow him on Instagram. He gets on, I think, every other day and shows his workouts. I've tried to keep up with him one time and I almost died. The man still got it. At 47, that man still got it. So shouts out to T.O. for going out there and doing that. But let's get into this next one because I low-key love that Greg Olsen said this, and I love that running backs, one current and one former, kind of came for him on this. But he said this. He's like, we have to do the same stuff that $15 million left tackle has to do and run routes against the same guy that a $15 million wide receiver has to run routes against, and they're going to pay us $7 million. His point is valid. However, these next two running backs will let him know, say less, my guy, because now I have to be a running back who can run. I got to be a running back that can, do short out routes. Stop it right now. And so Mike Davis, who's the running back for the Atlanta Falcons, he said, I mean, running backs do a lot and they don't want to pay us at all. So they, because they make less than the tight ends most of the time. And then Chris Johnson, who's a former running back, he says, imagine how running backs feel. At least tight ends can play 15 plus years. And that's the thing. Even though you're getting paid less than these wide receivers, you have a longer time in the league because you're not taking the same hits as these running backs are. So this is one of those things I wanted to have a conversation about. Is this something that Greg Olsen should have said? Because we talk about what people should and should not say. $7 million and you get to play for 15 years versus a running back who probably not making that and only gets to play a lot short, probably half that time. I don't know, Greg. I don't know. And Greg, you good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if you 15 million good. What y'all think in the chat? Devin, what do you think? Is this something that Greg Olsen should have said or no?
I mean, just to continue on with the theme of the show, we have been saying guys are able to say whatever they want to say. And, if this is how he feels, this is how he feels. I can't say it's a sentiment that I necessarily agree with. But also, if, the money is important, we know that at least compared to NBA players, football players don't earn as much. And it's harder to make the big bucks as a football player. So maybe that's something you consider before pursuing an NFL career. That being said, if I was getting $5 million, $7 million, if I was getting $1 million, I would be thrilled with my life. So, I don't want to say like, you're earning money, you should be grateful. Like, he's entitled to feel the way he feels. It's just, it's just a product of the system, that this is how it kind of works in the NFL.
Yep. And tight ends do get paid because there are these hybrids. They're not, I don't think there's a such thing as a true tight end anymore. Well, I think Jason Witten was probably the true tight end, and he's going out there, he's putting down these big blocks, and most of these tight ends now are hybrids. They're tight end wide receiver hybrids. So I get his point. I'm not discounting his point at all, but these running backs are hybrids nowadays. They're running backs and slot receivers, so there are these hybrids. The league might not have caught up with that, but y'all got a whole players association. You know what I mean? Y'all need to figure this out. So let's move on to this next one, because I'm going to tell you guys right now, this man right here is why I am desperate. Oh no, we got one more. We got one more for post up before, because we're not going to skip over my man, Aaron. Are we skipping over my man, Aaron? Because he is the love of my life. And I need y'all to see what he said to this young kid, because, Aaron is my guy and my love for him just went up a touch. So yeah, because if y'all see me sweating, it's Aaron. So yeah, go ahead. Go play that video. Play that video.
I'm going to grow up where I'm becoming, yeah.
You be better than me. Right?
Oh, he just played the end. So the whole thing was Aaron kind of playing with this kid. There we go.
It was free. I stole it from somebody. I said, give me your chain. I took their chain. Huh? The shoes?
Yeah.
They made them for me. Nike made them for me.
I'm gonna grow up where I'm becoming, yeah.
You'll be better than me.
You'll be better than me. I love Aaron so much. And I love that moment in time where he tells the little kid, like, I want to be you when I grow up. No, you're going to be better than me. I'm telling you, these little seeds that you plant in kids, they can grow so much. And I still remember Miss Pullman, my freshman English teacher, who told me, girl, you can write. You need to be either in front of the camera or you need to be writing books. And that seed just flourished and it grew with me. I'm telling you, you never know how these seeds that you plant in kids can grow. I love this moment in time. I do think one Twitter user was hilarious because he said, dang, after his props drove all that way and paid for his camp, his dad is like, you want to be like him when you grow up. So I know. I love this. Hilarious. But I still love me some Aaron, y'all. Round of applause for Aaron for having this camp and instilling those seeds of confidence into these young kids. I love it. But now, this what we're not going to do is going to be quick, because this what we're not going to do is more of a, like, let me just rub my temple situation, because no, you didn't. So what did we talk about earlier? Earlier in the month, last month, we said that Dennis Schroeder, we acknowledged the fact that he had turned down that long extension and that big money. I believe it was $180 million over 4 years, something like that. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But he turned that down from the Lakers. I'd long since said, the reason why you turned down that kind of money is because you believe that you're worth more money. Or at least, yeah, you definitely believe that you're worth more money. Maybe it was $80 million over 4 years. Is that right? $80 million over 4 years? I realize there's a delay. So I think it was 80 million, whatever it is, tell me in the chat so I can get it right. But he, he's from Germany. So according to, and I'm definitely going to get this name wrong, but I believe it's Armin Andres. He's the vice president of German Basketball Federation. And he says that Dennis Schroeder, the point guard, is expecting to deal in the range of $100 to $120 million. He said that he knows this is a fact, and that is the reason why Dennis Schroeder is not representing Germany in this summer, as the burden of ensuring his future contract of that value is too big. So he doesn't want to go to the Olympics because he doesn't want to potentially risk, injuring himself because he wants to get this contract. I'm not mad at that. That makes perfect sense. That's not what you want to do. You don't want your trades, your money value to go down. You want to make sure that you're 100% healthy and that you have this whole resume that you can present to somebody and be like, hey, I'm worth $120 million. But my problem with this is people, you're only as good as the last thing that people remember from you, right? So Dennis had this moment in time where he scored 20 points against the Suns. I believe we lost that game. The next one, he scored 24 points. We won that game. The next game, he scored 8 points. I think had like 1 assist or 2. And then after that, he had 0 points. You can't be all over the place with your scoring. You can't go from scoring 24 points one game, 0 points the next in the playoffs. During the regular season, I might get you for 20 here. I might get you for 2 over there. I might get you for 8 over here. What's your trade? Make it make sense. Make it make sense, because this is what should happen. If you really believe that you are worth that kind of money, then you should have had 24, 20, 30-point games. There should have been no goose eggs for you in the playoffs, sir. That's first and foremost. Secondly, right before the last game, you decide to remove all things Lakers from all of your social media and then put it back on right before game time. And then before you even change clothes in the locker room, it literally was from the time he walked off the court to the locker room, he grabbed his phone and then again took everything off of his social media. You didn't even take time to wash it behind before you change all your Laker stuff. That's a level of shade that if I'm looking at you and I'm putting that together with your lack of consistency in the playoffs, and I'm trying to get through the playoffs, not just to the playoffs, why am I going to pay you $120 million? What we're not going to do, Dennis, is act like you are worth $120 million. Because I'm not mad at you turning down that contract if you thought you was worth that. But what I'm saying is you did not prove that. You did not show that the money that you want coincides with what you can do. You failed, sir. You should have taken that contract from the Lakers And at the very least, you should have presented yourself as a team player. Lakers stuff should have been on your social media probably until yesterday, until this came out. And then once this comes out, then you can be like, okay, I'm gonna take this off because I am looking for other opportunities. But no, I'm not giving. Not only am I not gonna give you this money as from the Lakers, Rob Pelinka's not gonna give you this money, and I don't believe you're gonna get it anywhere else. And I think it is terrible that you perform like you did and still think you deserve this money. If I was you, I'd go back to Rob Pelinka and I'd be like, hey, so you remember that money you offered me? I was just playing. I don't know what I was thinking. I love it here. Can I get that money again? That's what I would do, because you didn't show that you are the guy that we thought you were. I was so excited when you came, and I've been saying you were the one that I was so disappointed in because you did not live up to your expectations at all. I don't think that based on what we saw this last season that you should get this kind of money. Definitely not with LA. Maybe somewhere else. But Devin, I'm going to go to you. What do you think? Wait, let me get to King JJ. He said, hell no, he don't deserve not a dime. Thank you. Unmitigated gall for him to ask for this. Oh, how dare he? This is so, I can't even get my thoughts right because I'm so mad that he is doing this. Devin.
I can't believe he has the audacity to say this. You know, this is a shock to me. Kevin L. Lang said that he's as consistent as wet toilet tissue, which is a visual that I really don't want to have, but it's true. It's just funny. It's just funny when players have the audacity to come out and say this kind of thing and demand this kind of money. Like, if anyone deserves this, it's definitely not him. So you're right. He's not getting this money from the Lakers. And I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say about this. This is just outrageous. Yeah.
I was trying to put my thoughts together for this what we not. And every time I would try to start typing something, but I start talking to myself like, how the hell he feel like he should be asking? Like I get all mad. Like why? Yeah. I couldn't even put my thoughts together right. So I'm sorry if I was all over the place. Zen Master is hilarious, though. He said Dennis Schroeder is worth $250,000 in a jawbreaker.
Honestly, I don't think he's worth even $250,000. That's a stretch, I think. Let's drop that down a little bit. Cut it in half, then maybe we'll talk.
Right. Like my dad says, you're only as good as the last thing you did. You know, you don't even have the resume. Maybe you can get away with having a bad season if you have that kind of resume. You know what I mean? But you came to LA. We damn near had bells and whistles and red carpets when you came to LA. And you putting up goose eggs? Boy, bye. Nope. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
You know what I would love is to sit down with him and chat and just be like, so, like, what makes you feel like you deserve this kind of money? Like, where did you perform? How did you level up? And I want to see what he would have to say. Don't you wish you could have that conversation with him?
I do. But it would have to be one of those, like, once he sat in front of me, I would have to go, woosah.
Yeah.
I'd have to talk very slow and precise. Dennis, why do you feel? And he was like, because I deserve. No, the hell you don't. Like I would go off and it would just be like, I would have to stay.
Maybe I should be the one. I'll do this conversation.
You do this.
All right, you guys. Well, that's our show for the day. Super fun one. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to check out Challenge Accepted at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's coming out in just a few hours, and it's going to be a good one. So tune into that, and then we're going to be back here again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Subscribe, tap the bell, leave a comment below, share this video with your friends, do all the things, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Bye, everyone.